Morning. So there's this leaked info from DHS about basically the government colluding with big tech to quash stories that they didn't like, stuff about pandemic, about Afghanistan, about Hunter Biden, about whatever they designate as disinformation or misinformation. Much of which, in the long run turned out to be true. I'll put a link that Tim Pool did a pretty good breakdown on, why this is important. But kind of my perspective on this and how I think people need to understand why this is important, right? So there's this legal term called color of law, right? If you're acting under color of law, that basically means is you're acting with the authority of the government, right? Or your position within government. And it comes up a lot in civil rights lawsuits. Title, was it 1983 lawsuits, right? So infringing on your typically Fourth Amendment rights when it comes to law enforcement. That's search and seizure stuff. But any of your constitutionally protected rights, the First Amendment among them, would come into play, right? And so if you, under color of law or as a employee of the government, are using your position to violate somebody's rights, then you're subject to a lawsuit for that violation, right? But the thing about color of law is it doesn't have to be somebody who is on the payroll with, say, Department of Homeland Security, right? And so in my capacity, for example, if I direct someone else to go do something which I am prohibited from doing, so say, there's a house and there's evidence inside the house and I don't have a search warrant to go get said evidence, but I have some sort of suspicion to believe that the evidence is in there, and I direct somebody else who's not a public employee, law enforcement, to go into the house and search for and seize and bring back to me said evidence that's illegally obtained, right? Now, private citizens are not bound by the Fourth Amendment, right? They don't have to observe people's rights to, be free from unreasonable search and seizure by the government. They have other protections of privacy and, trespassing, those sorts of things. But, if somebody goes and obtains something of their own volition and brings it to law enforcement, that's one thing, right? Like I had a girl bring me her brother's drug kit, right? An arrested brother on some domestic charges against his mom, and he was high at the time, and sister's like, oh, this is his kit, here, look, it's full of drugs, I got it out of his bedroom. Fine, I can seize that, right? I didn't put her up to that, so she was not acting under color of law. But if I had said to her, hey, does he have drugs, are they in his room, can you go get them for me, right? And I don't have the lawful authority to do that, but I'm directing her to do that, she's still acting under color of law, right? And so that, how that connects, right? If DHS, Department of Homeland Security, or some other, alphabet federal agency is directing private citizens to go do things they themselves are not allowed to do, that is, they're directing Facebook, Twitter, Meta, Microsoft, whoever, to go act on their behalf to censor First Amendment protected speech, they're acting under color of law, right? And so you can still sue the government for violating your civil rights. That's my understanding as a layman as it relates to my job. Now, maybe there's some, constitutional and other scholars who've got a different perspective on it than I do, but that's my interpretation of the situation as, again, admittedly not an attorney, but maybe you think that's a fair comparison. That's how it plays out in my, personal experience professionally. But I think that there's probably a reasonable parallel there to be drawn, which is why I think this story is so significant. And that's really all I had on that. But I'd be curious to hear what you think. Am I onto something here with this, or do you think I'm way off base? Anyway, drop a comment below. Like the video if you enjoy. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. It's been fun, inspiring, and uplifting as always. We'll catch you on the next one.